Hey folks, Jay with Jay's Cryptic Creatures here. In today's video, we are going to go over the basic husbandry and care of boa constrictors. We're going to kind of break this down into a couple parts. So in the first part, we'll go through some of the equipment that we're going to use and supplies. And then we're going to move over to the actual enclosure. We'll talk about some of the care, some of the husbandry. And then you'll see me put together a not minimalistic, but certainly not a fully decked out enclosure. So, without further delay, let's go ahead and build this enclosure. Okay, let's go over some of the supplies that we're going to be using to build out this enclosure for our boa. So, kind of in no particular order, we got a thermostat. So this device will turn on and off the heat source. This particular brand and model is a Husbandry. I like this company. A little bit of a higher end, but very reliable, very consistent, delivers a very good dimming feature for the heat, which I particularly like. I'm going with a radiant heat panel for PVC enclosures. Again, good consistent heat. There's other options. You can use light bulbs, heat emitters. Do your research, figure out what works best for you. Then we have an infrared heat gun. We'll be using this to get the surface temperature under our hotspot, so we understand what that is. We also have in this case, a Govee brand combo thermometer hydrometer. This will give us readings on the cool side, what the cool side temp is, as well as the current humidity. We're going to want some hides. These are basic plastic hides from Reptile Basics. We'll be using coconut chunk as our substrate. I like the chunk, holds humidity well, is prone not to mold, as well as you get a good thick layer. You'll see that the snakes will bury or crawl under it and or through it. I have one snake that loves to bury herself. She's kind of abandoned her hide and just likes to hide underneath the coconut chunk. We also have a water bowl. Snakes do drink and they do soak. Give them the option. And then we have our sprayer. You can use varying degrees of sprayers. You can use pan sprayers. You can use pump sprayers. Again, I have quite a good number of snakes, plus a tegu and some tarantulas. These species and animals do like humidity, so I've found myself really struggling even with a pump sprayer. So I went ahead and got a rechargeable electronic sprayer. The link to all of these will be in the description, so you can go check them out. Again, do some research on your own, see where works best for you. This is just kind of guidance. So with that being said, let's go over and start to construct the enclosure. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the enclosure itself, right? So there are a couple different options on how you want to house your snake. Now, I am a very, very small hobby breeder, so I don't have a vast collection, but I fall somewhere between, pet keeper and breeder. So I actually like PVC enclosures. Another kind of staple out there is rack systems. Not here to debate whether or not one is better than the other. I think they both serve their purpose. And as a matter of fact, I use both. For my sub-adult and adult boa constrictors, I use PVC cages. And then for babies and grow outs, I actually have a rack system for them. Right, what you're looking at here is a 4 foot long by 2 foot deep by 18-inch tall animal plastics PVC enclosure. I really like the animal plastics, folks. I've gotten all my cages from them, but there's other avenues you can go. There's lots of manufacturers out there. They will vary in price. They will vary in options. I have never really heard anything bad or negative about any of them, really. So, do your research, pick the ones that work best for you. Like I said, I always like this brand. I have siding glass doors to go along with these. It's kind of hard to see, but there is the radiant heat panel that's already mounted on one side of the enclosure. And then back here, you will see the probe that is tied into the thermostat. So the radiant heat panel is tied into the thermostat, and then the probe from the thermostat comes into the enclosure. And then what we're doing is we're trying to monitor a temperature to get a good balance both on the cool side as well as the hot spot. So heat panels here, you'll see that that would be the hottest location. And then because boas are cold-blooded and reptiles, they need a thermal gradient. So what that means is they need exterior heat to regulate their body temperature. Mammals, we regulate our own body temperature, but reptiles do not do that. So you have a hot side on one end, and then over here, where there's not the heat source, the temperature slides. So from temperature, you want a hot spot right around, I keep it 92, but you can, 89 to 94, 95, you're going to be absolutely fine. And then on the cool side of the enclosure, you want something in the mid to high 70s to low 80s. Not a science. Do your research. Observe your animal. What you want to allow is that snake to move about the enclosure to pick what temperature works best for them. That's the key. I already went ahead and hydrated the coconut chunks, so you didn't have to watch me do that. But that we already have a nice bedding layer in here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put hides on either side, a cool hide and a hot hide. And then we'll add our water bowl. We'll add a little bit more decoration to allow the snake to move around. Again, I'm somewhere in the middle between, maybe what we'll call a Spartan-like enclosure, where it's very bland, where it's either, newspaper or paper towel without decorations. The other end of that extreme are the folks that go full bioactive, really elaborate setups. They look fantastic. But because of how I keep these as pets / breeding animals, I go somewhere in the middle. So we have the enclosure, we have some decorations, they're able to roam around. They have some enrichment, if you will. And then what I tend to do is once a month I do a really big deep cleaning, aside from the spot cleaning that happens every time I come down here. But in the deep cleaning, what I do is I take the decorations and rotate them out around the different cages. Not sure if it changes or if the snake really appreciates it, but there's no harm in doing that. So with that being said, we'll start to decorate this. So actually, when I was editing this video, I forgot to mention a pretty important aspect of boa constrictor husbandry and care, and that's the humidity. Boas tend to live in the South American region. There's some outliers, and most of them are in a tropical type environment. So you actually want to maintain humidity somewhere between 60 to 75%. With that being said, Mother Nature doesn't have a hydrometer, and it's going to be a number every single time. If the humidity jumps up to say 80% at night, which likely it could happen. When the sun goes down, humidity tends to go up. Even 85, it's not going to be harmful to the snake. You just don't want to have a sopping wet, sustained, humid germ box, if you will. Similar in the opposite direction. If it gets down to the 50s, it's not going to hurt your snake if it's only for a brief period. What you want to strive for is that 60 to 75% range. That's about ideal for the snake. But always observe, always tweak, always be engaged with your snake. Okay, so the first thing we'll be adding is the couple hides, one on the hot side and one on the cool side. Then we're going to follow that up with the water bowl. Water is critical to the health of the animal. They drink it. We make a water bowl deep enough so that it can soak if the snake so chooses. Then we're going to be adding our combo hydrometer thermometer. We do that on the cooler side to give us the ambient temperature and humidity in the environment. Then we move on to some additional decor. In this case, this is a piece of aquarium driftwood, I guess. It's a pretty cool shape. It allows the snake to move in and out of the bark, if you will. And then, speaking of bark, we add a piece of cork bark here, again for a texture type of enrichment. Then I will be adding some fake foliage, just a standard kind of maybe pothos plant, maybe. Again, give some coverage, give some texture. And then finally, we'll be adding some fake flower back in the corner, just some color. Probably more for cage aesthetics than for the snake itself. But that looks to be about it.
Chubbs really wants to come out and play. He wants to say hi.
Hey, bud. We'll come out and play after this, okay? Just relax. We'll be out in a minute. So, full disclosure, I didn't need to make a new enclosure today, and today isn't deep cleaning day. But Hades, my male hypo jungle motley het albino boa was kind enough to let us take apart his house and redo it. If you follow this guide, use it as inspiration. It will certainly, give you all the information you need to house your boa constrictor. But don't just listen to me. Go and do additional research. There's no rush. There's always expos. The last thing you want to do is buy an animal and then not have the enclosure. The best thing to do is get the enclosure set up, monitor it, make sure you're comfortable with the parameters, and then go ahead and get your pet. So it looks like our friend here is ready to go back home. So please like, subscribe, and let's continue to learn about snakes, spiders, and other cryptic creatures together. Thank you, and we'll see you next time on Jay's Cryptic Creatures.